Hey, Richard Wolf here, better known as The Wolf. I want to come to you today with a quick mini course on my new speaking program and just to give you a snapshot of what you'll learn inside the course. So buckle up, grab a notebook, and get ready to take some notes to help yourself become a more confident speaker no matter where you're doing this. If it's one-to-one, if it's on a video, an audio, a podcast, or even a speech in front of a 10, 20, 50, or thousands of people. This strategy will help you learn how to be better at developing, writing, and delivering the next great speech or talk or video that you want to deliver. So, hope you enjoy it. Hang in here. So, I'm going to be giving a download of my 5 simple steps of how to get there. And I'm going to walk through this with you real quick, just to give you the snapshot, but it should give you a very basic understanding of what all is going to go on to help you get to where you want to go and build the confidence in speaking. Let me lay a little foundation for you. Many of the books you'll see on the shelves at Amazon that talk about public speaking or being a better speaker or a stronger speaker, a lot of them are going to talk more about the mechanics of speaking, and by that I mean, do you stand up straight? Do you have a deep voice? And is your voice inflection, tonality good, up and down? Do you bring people through an emotional ride of high tones, low tones, and keep them engaged? And that's all good. How do you use the space, the speaking area, if it's a speech face-to-face? Those are all great strategies and very important when it comes to delivering a speech in front of a crowd or a group of people. But in today's world, many times, this is our public speaking because we're talking to a video camera or our phones, and we're going to put that out in the world. So how do we get confident in doing that to where we don't feel nervous, where we don't feel rushed, where we don't feel like we're going to miss some words or do something wrong that's not going to connect with our audience? Well, the premise of my program is very simple, is that when you have a simple structure on how to develop that speech, talk, conversation, and you have a process to go through each step to develop what you're going to say. Number one, it should be on a topic you're very knowledgeable about. Number two is preparation is going to be the key. Because you know the information, but how do I put it together in a good format in which someone else gets the point of view that I'm trying to give across to them, right? That's the key piece. And I feel that through that process that I've developed through 12 years in a Toastmasters clubs, that's going to be the bigger key for most people out there than it is all the mechanics of speaking, which are still important, but shouldn't be the first place we start when it comes to becoming better and more confident at speaking on topics we're passionate about. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Again, I've got 5 basic points: the what, the how, the points, introduction, and then practice, drill, and rehearse. But before any of that, I firmly believe that we have got to think about what I call the mindset of speaking. Now, what do I mean by the mindset of speaking, Richard? Well, what I'm talking about is, how do we think about anytime that we get up to give a speech, have a talk, conversation with another person, no matter how that is? The way we need to frame our reference or our mindset about that is, number one, is it's not about us. It's about the audience. It's about the listener. It's about whoever that I'm talking to. And if we keep their goals, their needs, and their wants in mind, it's going to take a lot of the pressure off of us. That's the first point. The second point is the point and standpoint of service to the individual. See, one thing I've come to learn, that everything in life, if we take it from a service mindset and the standpoint in which I'm here to serve you, I'm here to help you in some way, make your life, give you a strategy, give you a tip, a point, something that makes you better or makes your life easier in some area. Those two pieces, the mindset of speaking that is not about me, I'm here to serve the other people, really takes the weight off of us. We can relax a little bit. We can sit back and we can say, you know what? I'm here to serve. And if I'm confident in my content and I know it's going to help other people, I'm going to deliver it with passion. I'm going to deliver it with ease. Yes, I can maybe craft it better to make my points better, and we'll go through that in my steps. But that's the beginning of it, the mindset of speaking. So let's begin to start there, okay? So now we're going to get into our points. First point is what. So here we're going to start with what is it that I want to say to the group I'm talking to that person I'm talking to the crowd I'm talking to. And by that I mean, why do I want to deliver it to them? And what is it exactly I want them to walk away with and do after I'm completed with this speech or presentation or keynote? Is it something specific? Do I want them to take an action when I'm finished with this talk? Do I want them just to be informed and have some good knowledge and information about a subject that they were kind of weak on or didn't know anything about? So we have to begin with the what. And when I say the what, this is also going to be the conclusion of your speech. So your overriding idea and mindset and thought of what's going on and what you're talking about and what you want them to do at the end is also going to be the part of your conclusion for the end of the speech. As we've all heard in world and all of our lives when we're speaking about speeches and talking to folks, there's an introduction, there's a body, there's a conclusion, right? So that's always going to be the standpoint, and that's never going to really change, to be quite honest with you. But how you formulate that is key. So if we start with what we want them to walk away with, that is now our conclusion in our speech. Next, we're going to get into the how. So how do I want to present this to them? And I've come up with the acronym of PIIE, P-I-I-E. Do I want to persuade them to take an action when I'm finished? Do I want to inform them? Just give them some information. Do I want to inspire them? Inspire them to take an action, to do something different, to change themselves in some way? Or do I want to simply just educate them or entertain them? I think educate and entertain kind of go hand in hand. But it's very important that we decide which one of those specific things do we want for them to do. When we look at that as well, I will be honest that there are going to be certain situations where some of those may overlap a little bit. I may want to inform and inspire someone about a particular topic, some particular, the one that comes to mind many is now today in our world is texting and driving. Startling fact, 1 out of every 3 kids that are texting and driving get in a car accident. Whatever that statistic is. But that's information, but it's also going to be some persuasion because we want to persuade them to not text and drive, correct? So there's going to be a little overlap in some situations, but those are going to be your basic 4 to 5 topics. Persuade them, inform them, inspire them, educate or entertain them. Next, we get into the points of our speech. All right, so now when we get into the nitty-gritty, the points of our speech, in my opinion, and from my experience over the past 12 to 15 years, writing, developing speeches, doing a lot of trainings, is the body and the data part of our speech, where we're going to make our points, is going to be based on the time that we have to speak. Now, you're going to have a few exceptions in which you may not have a specific time. You may be open, to give a lot of information. But in most cases, if you're going to do a video like this, you don't want it to run on and on and on and on. You want a definite beginning and end, and you don't want to drag this out too long because people's attention span can be a challenge. Now, if you're in a conference, if you're in a training, typically those are going to be the 30 to 45 minute, maybe even an hour window of time. So 2 things we want to take out first. Our introduction may be 2 to 3 minutes. Our conclusion may be a possible 2 to 3 minutes. So let's just make this easy and call them 5 and 5. So that's 10 minutes out of our time to talk that we can just take off the table right away. So let's just say that we have 30 minutes to give a speech, a training, a talk. Well, we just knocked it down to 20 minutes because we've taken 5 off the front and 5 off the back. That's 10 minutes. So we have 20 left. So if I have 20 minutes for the body of my speech, how many points do I want to deliver to get my point across of what I want them to walk away with? So in 20 minutes, you could have 5 4-minute segments, or you could break it down to smaller. So what I'm going to use as an example in this walkthrough is a speech that I've been thinking about for some time. And I'm not solid on the title just yet, but overall in general, it's going to be Success Principles from Ancient Wisdom. And the general idea of the speech is that the success principles that we use today, there's nothing new under the sun, has been said in the Bible, are just so old and they're principle-based and so solid that everything we've seen on any book you might see on that shelf back there that talks about success principles, the steps to being a better you, blah, 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 they're all based on ancient wisdom. And I believe there's probably about 4, maybe 5 basic overriding principles that all of the rest come from. You know, there's the 10 Commandments in the Bible, right? There's Dale Carnegie, between his 2 major big-selling books, there's probably about 31 principles. One about stop worrying, how to live and influence other people. So Stephen Covey has 7 habits. Rotary has the 4-way test. You know, the 3 top principles to success in financial planning, in da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We all have these numbers. Napoleon Hill had about 17 success principles he narrowed down to. But I believe that overall, there's about 4 principles that I'm going to cover in this speech, and we might could throw in a 5th possibly. But those are the big ones, and everything else filters down underneath that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have 4 points, and I'm going to take about 5 minutes each point. 5 times 4, 20. We're perfect. Now, our next step is going to be our introduction to our speech. Now, as we probably know, if you've watched any videos or any type of a training or speeches that people have given, the introduction is a point in time in the speech when you want to get their attention. You want to get up in their face and make sure that, hey, I need your attention. Pay attention right here. And that's what we want to do in that introduction. So there's a few key ways you can do that. One that I like a lot is start with a question. And I mean, step right into it and start your speech with a big overriding question. Did you know that there are truly only 4 real success principles in this world to help us live a better, stronger, more fulfilled, and more loving life? Ah, you don't believe it, do you? On and on. That would be starting with a question. Maybe we start with a story that ties into our main point that will bring people, maybe we give the first half to 2/3 of that story in the introduction. We get into the body and we wrap it up and finish it off in the conclusion. I've seen that done really well by a lot of people. The third way is possibly, like I mentioned just a minute ago, is a startling fact. You know, how many people die of cigarettes every year? What is cancer hitting us? Heart disease, diabetes, any kind of startling fact. And it's not just around health. There's many, many other startling facts. But find something that's maybe unknown in a particular genre or is tied to the topic of which you're talking about, and state that out directly in the very beginning of your speech. And then maybe a few more tidbits. Now we get into the points in the body of the speech. The last 2 are pretty simple, but I know that one of them can be a challenge for some folks. The simple one is a quote. Let's start out with a quote that ties into the topic of our speech. Real simple there. But the last one, and I've done this before and it's worked fairly well, is a joke. If I can tell a joke in the very beginning of a speech that ties into the content of my speech, then it flows very well. Not everybody's good at joke telling. The pausing and the timing of a joke is sometimes very, very important, and not to mention the fact you need to tell it well so that the point gets emphasized, correct? But when it comes back to the introduction, so that's going to be your first 2 to 3, maybe 5, 6 minutes of your speech. You're going to want to start it with one of those 5 things: a question, a story, a startling fact, a quote, or a joke. okay? Those are going to be your best ways. Now, a little extra caveat when it comes to introductions. If you're presenting in front of a crowd, or there's going to be a situation where someone is going to introduce you directly before your speech, my suggestion, and I've learned this from many great speakers, is to develop an introduction for yourself that you give to someone that they read verbatim. And in that introduction, you build a little credibility about yourself. You maybe throw in a funny point about yourself, something nobody knows. But then you give a very short snippet that sets up your speech for what you're about to talk about. One big mistake a lot of people make is they want to step into and they want to get up there. Hey, thank you for having me here this evening. I'm Richard, and I've been doing this Toastmaster thing for 12 years, and I've developed these 5 steps to help you write, deliver, and execute a great speech. And I'm going to get into those for you today. Well, that is not the way to introduce and start a speech or a video or any kind of talk. You want to skip that and get right into a story or right into the meat of what you want to talk about. So if you give a verbatim introduction to someone, that's going to give them the opportunity to set you up for your speech. And now you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You get right into your topic, right into your introduction, and you get right into your talk. Beautiful way to get things started. Now, point number 5, as we begin to kind of wrap this up for you, is going to be my fun ones called PDR, practice, drill, and rehearse. I learned this years ago in a sales conference I was in which we were kind of working through sales scripts and also in objections handling and that kind of thing. And the one thing that the trainer said to me and to the group there was the fact that these responses, rebuttals, objections need to be practiced, drilled, and rehearsed. So you need to work through them over and over and over, role play them with other people, have them give you an objection and give this response, and work through this in your particular genre to where it becomes an internalized for you. Now we can fast forward many years later, and I will tell you that I've used that many, many times. But when it comes to speaking and developing a speech, whether it be a video or just a simple talk, rehearsing and practicing what you're going to do is key. Now I'm going to tell you that, much like we said earlier, there are going to be specific topics that you're just well versed on. I work in the insurance space in my other career, and I've been doing that now for over a dozen years. And I can sit down with no paper, no materials, and give a presentation on that because I have done it thousands of times. So it's in my brain. I couldn't forget it if I tried, to be honest with you. So because I've done it so long, I wouldn't need to practice, drill, and rehearse that as much, because honestly, I've practiced, drilled, and rehearsed it for thousands of times, correct? But when we're talking about what we're doing here, you need to literally write out your introduction, write out your body, write out your conclusion. And I want you to take that paper that you've written that on, and I want you to read through it in the beginning. Even if you know the content, but you're developing the way and the emphasis and how you want to deliver it, I want you to read through it 3 to 5 times, just reading directly off the page. But what I want you to do is I want you to record it, either audio or video, even if I'm standing here just reading the page. Hey, I'm Richard Wolf, and I want to get go through the whole thing. Because after you do that about 3 to 5 times, you're going to begin to add different inflection points. You're going to say things differently. You're going to slow down at some points, speed up at other points, and make different emphasis simply by reading over the material. I promise you this is going to work. Then you're going to come back and you're going to listen to that recording. You recorded it those 3 or 4 or 5 times. You're going to come back and you're going to listen to that. And you're going to say, how can I do that better? Can I improve here? You're going to make some notes on your page. Okay, let's do this. You know what? Let's move this here. So you're going to have ideas that come to you, number 1. Number 2, I want you to be sure, because we have the ability now with our cameras and our phones to record it on video, delivering your speech. Maybe you're looking at the camera, maybe you tape this up right below the camera up there, and you can see what you're going to talk about. Maybe you put it into bullet points. You're going to talk through it. So I want you to do that, because now we're going to come back and we're going to watch that. And we're going to watch for our body emphasis. We're going to watch for our gesturing. We're going to look for how do we use the stage area, okay? And we're also going to watch it with the volume turned all the way down. So now we're going to look for, especially if this is a face-to-face speech, how do I want to do this a little better? Should I, stand? Should I point? Should I stand at a particular point on the stage when I'm talking about this particular point? What more can I do to bring the audience closer to me and connect with them, right? Then we're going to watch it and we're going to listen for the inflections, okay? And this might be your 5th, 6th, 10th time that you've done it. So we want to record an audio first and listen for inflections and ways we're going to speak about it. Then we're going to video, obviously, and audio, record that. And we're going to watch it with no volume. And then we're going to listen to it again. And then we're going to take in the last step of this, is we're going to watch it normally. And again, we're going to self-critique. Now, here's what I want you to do when you self-critique. Obviously, let's be honest, we are always hardest on ourselves before anybody else gives us feedback. It's just the nature of who we are. So I don't want you to be super critical on yourself, because depending on your experience level, you're not ready to be that great, gregarious, fantastic speaker yet. But I want you to keep it in perspective of what you know and how long you've been doing this. So just give yourself some internal tweaks and some little bit of grit. And then the last piece of that is feel free to let someone else watch it and give you some feedback. But I want you to filter that feedback through who they are and what they've been doing. If it's just a general consumer that does watch videos or speeches, take it with a grain of salt. If they give you something that seems a little more technical and you're like, I don't know if that's the case, don't worry about that. But do take it to heart from a standpoint of, am I connecting with the audience? So let me know if I'm connecting properly is a key piece there. Again, you're not looking for perfection. You're just looking for repetition. And as we wrap up here, I'm going to tell you that this last piece is, number one, going to probably take you the longest. And number two is going to be the most difficult for you, because it does tend to have a point in time where you get a little bored. Well, I've just read through this 15 times. I think this is good. No, I want you to be critical about it. And I guess this is predicated on, how important is this speech to you? Is this truly a skill you want to develop? Or is it just something you're trying to get better at to get this presentation done and get over with? You need to decide that. But I promise you, if you follow these steps, use what I just taught you, I hope you took some good notes, you're going to be able to go from fearful and scared and nervous to confident and comfortable when you give a speech or a talk or a video to anybody, anywhere. You're going to help yourself, again, get rid of the nervousness. You're going to help yourself not to go down some rabbit trails and stray off and maybe take too long and get off topic, because you have written this speech out. You have practiced it, and you know exactly what you want to deliver, okay? And here's my last final piece for you, is the one thing you want to remember, that once you're done with your speech, you've completed it, you've stepped back and away, it's done and it's finished. Do not be hard on yourself to say, oh, I forgot that point, doggone it. Because here's the beauty of this. No one in your audience is going to know what you were supposed to say except you. That's it. So be confident in that. Follow these 5 steps. Give it all you got. And I know you're going to give a great speech, talk, or video the next time you get out there and deliver one. Use this for your courses you're going to deliver. Use this for your quick 2 to 3 5-minute videos you're putting on social media. Use this for any time, and actually even in the work environment. Prepare for a talk with a coworker or a subordinate or a peer before you go and give it. With the same steps and process, you're going to make an impact and a difference in your life and theirs. Thanks for watching.